Good morning. Welcome to EXSIN Live.
How are you?
And if you paid attention to the post yesterday, we're going to talk about three secrets to employee retention. But I'm going to start with something first, Phil, because I'm kind of a geek, and we know that.
Captain America.
And I like psychology, and I think understanding
uses it on
people.
Me every day.
I think understanding people is very important. So we're going to talk about. Let's get this right here.
Maslow.
So we do this
He's
right.
a scary old guy.
That's not right. What did I do here? What did I do wrong here? I don't know.
You figure it out?
We'll figure it out. Hold on.
Probably should have practiced this.
I did practice it.
Well, that ain't good.
Let's see here. Go here and go add stream. That didn't work either.
Can we make that work?
I don't know. Hold on a second. Give me a second. We're going to get this figured out. This is new stuff. We're trying to be cool today, and it's not working.
The pilot checklist has officially kicked in, folks.
It's there.
We say. You're going to have to go with that, Dave.
No, I'm not going with that. I'm going with this.
Oh boy.
We're going with this.
There we
That's
go.
what I wanted.
There we
To
go.
get the right
There we
button.
go.
So now that we're where we need to be, just realize live stuff happens. We don't have a producer. We just have me and Phil.
That's dangerous.
It's dangerous. In life, if you are a leader and you don't understand Maslow's hierarchy needs and how it applies to your people, you got a problem. And this is the first place you got to start. And we're going to start with this because we had this discussion yesterday about pay.
Yep.
And people have to understand that there's hygiene factors, which are physiological and safety factors, and they're first two levels of the pyramid of self-actualization.
Right.
If you don't know what Maslow's hierarchy is, go Google it and read it. It'll be good. But understand that pay, working conditions, job security are hygiene factors. If you don't get enough pay and you can't pay your bills, you can't stay in that job or you're working 5 others and you're not happy. If your workplace isn't safe, you're not going to work there. You're going to leave. So we're going to start with the basics. You got to make sure you pay your people appropriately, and you got to make sure their working conditions are good.
Safe environment.
Safe environment.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to this point, the self-actualization, motivating factors thing, this is where you make money with your employees. And what you're going to find is the 3 things we're going to talk about directly speak to self-actualization, their motivating factors. So if you're not taking care of the hygiene stuff, take care of that first.
Yeah.
Pay, safety, all that. Okay, so we're going to get out of this and we're going to get back to what we're going to do today. So while that was fun, yeah, that's great. Awesome.
No, we're foggy.
Whatever.
That probably enhanced me a little bit.
Yeah, whatever.
I need to be as messed up as possible. Oh, white balance. There we are.
That's fixed. Okay, good.
Better.
So it's a technically so. The number, and this is from the Leadership Freak, and I love this guy. If you're not following his blog, he has some great stuff for business owners. The number 1 secret to retention is to tell people where they're adding value to your company on a regular basis.
Yeah, they want to feel like they matter. They want to feel like that they're a part of something that, their work is contributing to a greater good. And we all want that instinctively. I mean, look at relationships in general. Okay, I'm chuckling because I always use myself as a case study because God knows there's plenty there to try to figure out. But if we're working on a project and I don't feel like I'm doing enough for the project, and it's not just me, it's everybody or most people I've ever seen that do this, then I will do. Oh boy, I got a hole in my head.
What happened, Phil?
I don't know. I got a hole in my head. Spent years dodging those things and get it right here in the studio. Oh boy.
I'll fix that. Let me see.
Oh, that's better. Whew. That's rough. Anyway.
Folks, this technology stuff is, you never know what you're going to get. This has been technology week for us.
But I had a hole in my head. Now I just got a real shiny spot right there.
That's okay. You don't have a hole in your head anymore.
I do have a shiny head though. So, but if I'm not feel like I'm contributing enough or I'm not involved enough, then Dave has to listen to me and go, hey, is there anything I can do on that? Do you need me to do something on this? Do you want me to do it? And the reality is it's not my wheelhouse, typically the stuff we're talking about. So Dave's kind to me. He doesn't say, well, yeah, there's stuff that somebody could do, but you can't do it. So no, you're not going to do it. So he's kind to me. But it's also, but you want to feel involved. You want to feel, so what Dave does really a job of is he keeps me updated on the stuff that's going on. He'll sit down and say, hey, this is what this is going to look like. I know what I like. I know what I want to see. I know what works based on working with other people. But if you don't have a certain skill, that if an employee doesn't have a certain skill, it shouldn't eliminate them, you got to make sure that they feel like they're still part of the process.
Yep.
I mean, it's important. You've got to feel like you're a part of something that's bigger and that you're able to go out and contribute in your own way and do things.
Let me give you a specific example and how this applies. So 2012 combat missions in the Middle East. We had a maintenance unit that I worked with for our organization. It was amazing. The young captain that was running was awesome. And we had the operators that were flying the airplanes. And we asked them to do a lot of things that was almost impossible, frankly. And Matt and I sat down and talked about how do we inspire our maintainers who are getting the crap kicked out of them. Excuse my language. They're getting their butts kicked on the flight line trying to keep these old jets flying 36 hours a day, right? And yes, I said 36 hour a day. That means two jets were everywhere at the same time, and we only had 5. So it got kind of complicated for our maintainers. What we decided is that we were going to do this first thing. Tell our maintainers the mission stats of what their airplane did because it was airborne. How many lives were saved, how many bad guys were captured. And every day we would give that data to our maintenance team, and either I or the DO from the flying side would go over and talk to our maintainers and thank them.
Yeah. And I think the other thing you got to do is you got to share good news, right?
Right.
You got to share good news, which that's an example.
Right.
Another example in the civilian sector might be you get a great review online on your website, or somebody actually goes old school and picks up the phone and calls somebody and says, "Hey, I just want to let you know I worked with this person on this problem or this project, and they did a fabulous job." Share that with them. Let them know that there's good things happening out there. I mean, that's important. You've got to get that positive reinforcement.
So to relate the story I just told you to a business side, if you're in a manufacturing job or a service job, if your team has been out for 5 weeks and you've gained all these customers, go to them and go, look, I know you've been working your tail off, but do you realize because you did this, the company's growing and we're going to be able to do more for you as an employee because we have these 5 satisfied customers that think you're amazing. That's basically what Phil's saying.
Yeah.
But that's how it relates, right? So make sure you're showing your team the value they're adding to their organization. It's not yours, it's theirs, and how they can grow. The second one is be a human. Treat people like human beings.
Knowing that human beings are completely and utterly flawed, every one of us, knowing that there's going to be times when it's difficult to do that. I know Dave's had a lot of experience in this. I've had a lot of experience in this where, people are just, sometimes it's just hard to, you can love someone and maybe you don't like them right now. Yep. Right? But you shouldn't have the mindset that you're not going to treat people appropriately ever. Even if they're messing things up, there's still a right way and a wrong way in the workplace to deal with those kind of things.
The big thing on being a human is know your team, right? Yeah. Let them grow. Give them to learn, understand where they want to go and help them get there. So if you have a line worker that's, someday I'd like to be a manager in the organization.
Yep.
Okay. Give them opportunities for training and things to fulfill that role and give them the chance to excel, right? If you offer training to your team and you treat them like humans, you let them grow in the way they want to grow because you know what they want to do. They know that you trust them and you believe in them.
Well, and I think what we're talking about here is give them learning opportunities, right? I mean, help create opportunities for people, like Dave said, to get better, to prepare for the next deal. Dave and I have talked about this a lot in the past. In the military, doesn't matter what your job is, wherever you're at right now, you're always training for the next thing. You're always getting prepared for the next thing. There's not I've arrived, Nope. I've always said you arrive the day they throw dirt on you and go eat potato salad. That's the day you've arrived. You always should be learning, growing, getting better, picking up new skills. Or if you're a specialist in something, you need to be honing those skills. Because even if you're a specialist, there's still hundreds of layers within that specialty that can allow you to be more effective and bring more value to the deal. And the other thing, too, is you want to make sure your employees are practicing what many people call self-care. Just create a culture, an environment to where things are good, and if things aren't good, there's a clear path to follow so you can get a resolution to those challenges.
Specific example of this. There are times to work long days and there are times that not. And if you're the boss, say, look, I don't expect you to be here after 5, but you're there till 7 o'clock every night or 8 o'clock every night. Your team that loves you is going to stay there and you're hurting them and you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your family.
Yeah.
You need to set boundaries for workday when you can, which is most of the time. Let's be honest.
There might be projects or
Right.
special situations. Everybody gets that.
Right.
But for the most part, 95% of the time, that shouldn't be the case.
Right. And encourage them to spend time with their family. Know their family, know what they're dealing with, try to become part of their lives and be a good mentor and friend as much as you can to them. The last one here is, do your employees know the company story?
Yeah.
Why?
The why.
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Why is it here? Right? What is the foundation for what happened? EXSIN is really simple for me, right? My dad died when I was 14. I watched advisors steal everything from my mother. I had to sign the company over when I was 18. I got very angry and I went to the military for 23 years and took care of bad people because it made me feel better about myself. At least I was doing something for society. And then I had the opportunity to meet Phil, and we have like-minded ideas and want to help companies. And Phil has a similar story about where he was in life and what he's seen happen to people, and the willingness to know that our country is founded on small business. And I shouldn't say nobody, there's not a lot of people out there that want to spend the time to help them because there's not a lot of money in it.
Right.
Right. And it's hard.
Right.
It's hard
work.
But
it's worthwhile.
It is very worthwhile, especially when they're successful.
And that's the whole thing. When people ask me, what do you do, or what does your company do? There's people that sell entire programs on elevator pitches and how do you state what your value proposition is? And the reality is this: it's real simple for me. We help companies increase the value and improve the culture for their employees. I mean, that's what we try to do. And I think that resonates with people. I think we try to make things too fancy.
Yep.
Right. And we don't. I was watching this morning. Dave knows we both do this a lot, but I clicked on a deal I saw on one of the social media sites with a young man that was selling to coaches and consultants, and this was his shtick. I can increase your sales by $10,000 per month in 60 days. Great. And he goes to talk about all this stuff. Not one thing, he even says in this, people think coaching is about getting results for people. It's about improving your bottom line. I mean, and I'm going, whoa. There are people out there that don't care about whether or not somebody's actually getting value from what you're doing for them. They just are worried about selling the next deal, closing the next deal. How can we make more money here? Listen, one of my favorite lines is Tanya and I have a nonprofit, and we do, but this ain't it. We want to make a profit. I mean, let's be really clear about that, but only if we're bringing value. A good example, Dave, we had an individual that was looking at joining our network of coaches, and love this person, big, very successful guy in his own right. But he's got too much going on. Last night we were supposed to have this meeting, and I stopped and I said, dude, do you even think you can really devote the time necessary to get results for people doing this? He said, I don't know. And I said, well, then let's hit pause, pump the brakes, focus on this right now. This is where you can have the most impact, for good for people out in the world. So let's focus on that. We could come back around. So him and I will meet once a month virtually, and we'll continue to develop our relationship. We'll continue to support him in the best way we can. But you've got to be concerned about what's in it for everybody else as much as you are concerned, if not more, than what's in it for you. If you can't check that box, then you're going to struggle in the customer service business. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter if it's consulting, coaching. Doesn't matter if it's retail. Doesn't matter if you're selling cars. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You've got to be more concerned about the outcome for the people than you are the benefit for yourself, or it's not going to work.
And as an owner, you have to share the challenges that the organization has overcome with your team, right?
Yeah.
If they don't know where you've been and the work that has been put in by the team to get to where they are today, they don't appreciate it. They're not part of the organization, right? Great organizations have a great story that they share with their employees. They have a mission that everybody understands, and everybody knows their role in that mission and how they're supposed to respond when challenges occur.
And one of my daughter-in-laws works for a very well-known company. I'm not going to say who they are because they're so big, they'd probably end up getting mad at me for even bringing this up. But it's this massive organization, one of the biggest organizations in the world. And she's does marketing and consulting for them and works in this department, and we talk weekly, and we always spend a little time on her experiences, what happened this week, and two things come to mind. First of all, she's a lot smarter than me, and number two is that it's easy, even in ultra successful companies, to get lost. It's easy to forget why you're doing the things you're doing. Even with all these resources, right? It would be very simple to create a certain path for people to follow. Even the biggest companies forget that people need to be developed. They need to be encouraged. They need to be, they need to have all these things. And these companies have all the resources in the world. It would be a small little glitch, right, of cost to train and develop their people. So you got to guard against that. If small business owners, medium-sized business owners want to get better, if you want to continue to grow, you got to invest in your people. That doesn't always mean direct money. It can mean your culture, the culture you create, but you've got to invest in them to give them an opportunity to grow, feel inspired. If people aren't inspired at work, you're going to get, we were talking about the guy that you serve in the service that said if minimum wasn't minimum, if minimum wasn't good enough, there wouldn't be a minimum. Well,
not a good plan.
Not a good plan. Not a good plan.
Terrible plan.
So, you got to create an environment where people want to excel. And if they don't feel empowered, if they don't feel like they're a part of something bigger, if they don't understand the why behind your organization, then they're going to struggle with that. The why can't be, well, I want to make a lot of money for my family. That can't be the why.
But you've got to push them to be better, right?
Right.
You need to set a high bar, raise the standards, and encourage them to reach them. Because when you reach higher goals, you become better. There's self-actualization going. You're like, I never thought I could do this. Now I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at any organization that's successful, they are pushing their team to get better every day in the right way, in a healthy way. And that's what we're talking about here. You got to be healthy when you do it.
And the other thing, too, that I got to say this, Dave, there's just way too much BS out there. I mean, there's just too much.
I don't know how many ads you showed me today where someone trying to sell us stuff.
Oh, my God. There's just way too much BS out there. I mean, people are we have all these brilliant marketers, and we now have this great way to deliver to people all over the world that we literally, I don't care if you do flower arrangements, you can sell all over the world. It doesn't matter what you do. Your world now isn't restricted by geography,
nope.
Right? So that's a wonderful thing, but you've got to be careful because there are brilliant marketers that are delivering absolutely no value at the end of the day to people. So, it happens every freaking day, and it just runs all through us. It just drives me crazy.
And we talk about this all the time. It doesn't matter how good you are sometimes. It matters how well you can market and how well you can sell snake oil sometimes.
Yep.
And I encourage you to be careful, right?
Yeah.
Make sure you're getting the value you're asking for. Make sure you're asking the right questions. Make sure you're holding people you work with to the standard they set. So if somebody says they're going to make $10,000 more a month for you in 60 days, what are you going to do if they don't?
Yeah, are you going to give me my money back that I paid you?
And ask that question when you start. We've given a lot of money to organizations to help us do certain things, and sometimes it's worked, but most of the time it's been snake oil.
Mixed results.
It's been snake oil, right? But this isn't new. This has been going on since the 1600s.
Since the beginning of time.
Right.
But it's just fancier now.
It is, and it's quicker.
Yeah, it's quicker.
You don't have to ride a wagon with a horse in with a bucket full of stuff in the back. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, to Dave's point, I think, I feel like as an old guy now, I don't know when that happened, but as an old guy now, there's a lot of wonderful truths that we all live by. And one of the best truths is if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Some people say that's being cynical. I think that's just being smart. I'm not saying there's not great opportunities out there. There are. But if somebody's selling something that they tell you, oh, this is easy, you won't have to do, people are just going to come flooding in. Please run away from that person because it's not true. Dave and I could grow our businesses. We know what works, but we try to balance that with what's right. So it would be easy for us to turn on the faucet. Our network of coaches is a great example. We don't, just because somebody wants to be a part of our network doesn't mean they're going to be part of our network.
Nope.
If they don't align right with us, and if they're not focused on outcomes for people, we don't really care how much they can sell.
Nope.
Because at the end of the day, that destroys everything that we've created, and so you got to be protective of those things. But as a buyer, as a consumer, or as somebody that's looking at services, it sounds too good to be true. It probably is. That's a pretty good rule of thumb. Would you agree with that? I mean,
yes.
I mean, it's just
Yes.
it's just a common sense thing, right?
You know, we could use harsher terms about trying to get your attention on this, but we won't do that today.
No.
But
we're trying to be.
But old wise people become old and wise because they've made a bunch of mistakes. And they were smart enough to learn from it. Going, yeah, you know what?
There's that old thing, Dave. Thank God nobody judges me by the 16-year-old that I was. Well, I grew up in a small town. There still are people when I go back there 40 years later that are still judging me on the 16-year-old that I was, and that's okay. I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's they're not wrong. They're not wrong. I did that back in the 80s.
Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, that's part of it.
But my point is that you've got to be honest with yourself. You know, we talked about this just a small soapbox here. You know, when several years ago in a community not far from where I live, there were all these people that were taken advantage of, and it was a horrible deal financially. It was a Ponzi scheme. They got taken advantage of, and I got called by the newspaper and asked if I wanted to give a comment, and I said, well, so this isn't going to be a very popular comment, but I guarantee every one of those people that knew this was too good to be true. Yeah. You know, if somebody's promising you 35% returns month in, month out, something should go off in your head that this probably isn't legitimate. But
not for me.
But not for me.
I'm different.
Because like all good Ponzi schemes, right? Yeah. You see results for a short period of time, and they get you sucked in, and next thing you know, I felt bad that people got taken advantage of. I did. I felt bad. This person went to prison for a long, long time. But at the end of the day, these people knew. I mean, they had a suspicion. But when those checks come in, it made them ignore what they obviously knew. So, we always know, I think we always know what's right and wrong. It's how do we walk that out?
Yeah, that's validating behaviors.
Yeah.
It's a totally separate discussion about human nature. Yeah. But here's the thing. You're going to take care of people. Tell them where they add value. Professionally develop them. Get involved in their family and lives and know your team and who they are and what they want to be.
Be honest with them. Don't be afraid to talk about the bad, the good. I mean, because every organization has good things and bad things at different times in their life cycles of business. There's going to be times when you're killing it. There's going to be times when you're not. Like I say, some days you're a duck, some days you're an eagle. Just be an eagle more than you're a duck and you win.
What's wrong with ducks?
Well, I like ducks.
Well, they're cute.
They go fast under the water.
They paddle fast. Good ducks paddle fast. So if you guys are looking for help, please reach out to us. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that. If you're not, like us on Facebook to follow us or LinkedIn, please do. We look forward to helping you, and we look forward to growing our Bebo network. Bebo's coming, growing our network and helping more businesses than ever. With that, it's Dave and Phil. We are out of here.